We are going to talk about certain tips that we all should keep in mind when we talk about managing relationships. The first point is all about trust. A lot of people in the first question only answered, relationship means trust. Trust means relationship. Now, whether it is your personal or your professional relationship, trust plays a key role. Trust plays a very, very important role as far as, any kind of a relationship is concerned. Now, when you are into a relationship, a personal or a professional, it is very important for you to keep trust on your partner, and it is also very important for you to develop, trustworthiness with your, partner within the relationship. So point is that trust plays a very, very, very key role altogether. A lot of time, what happens is, we trust people, but at the same time we have some amount of doubt within our minds. What do you say, the subconscious mind will not allow you to trust. So you trust, but then you keep suspecting. So trust and suspecting does not go hand in hand. You cannot suspect, you have to trust. So trust is a root, is a basis of any relationship. I always keep talking about a quote, which says that life is not about people who act true to your face. I repeat, life is not about the people who act true to your face. It's about the ones who remain true behind your back. I repeat, it's about the ones who remain true behind your back. Life is not about the people who be nice to you, when you are with them. So life is not about people who remain good to you on your face. It's about the people who remain true behind your back. That is called trust. So whether you are around or otherwise, people are with you. They trust you. You trust them. That is called a solid bonding. So trust becomes, basis of any relationship to be maintained or to be grown or to be sustained in a longer run. So trust plays a very, very important role. Now, if you see the slide itself says, the slide itself is self-explanatory. But if I have to, pick some points, then I would say it speaks about being transparent. So whenever you are into a relationship, how do you develop trust? You develop trust by being transparent. Within a relationship, there should be transparency. Say for example, we are talking about a personal relationship, a husband and a wife. So they both need to be transparent. When I come back home and when I sit on a dinner table with my wife, whenever I'm in Mumbai, or whenever I speak to my wife or a phone call, I speak to her, in a very general way, in a very basic way as to what happened today. She may not know in and out about my organization, about my work, but I'll brief her about, certain things going in my life, in my professional life. Similarly, she will also talk about, her experiences within the day, throughout the week, throughout the day, throughout the month. So we share, a good rapport with each other because we are sharing things. Our life is very transparent. My wife would know, my colleague's name, my boss's name. My wife would know each and every of my team member. I have a small team, so I have 10, 12, 13 people team. So she would know majority of people. My wife would know who is Tanzi. My wife would know who is Anil Patil. My wife would know who is Surbi. My wife would also know who is Ranjana Madam. So similarly, I would know what is going on in her life. So there is adequate amount of transparency. We share details with each other. We share information with each other. That's how the relationship goes on for a very longer time in a very positive way altogether. Similarly, within your organization, when you're working, you need to have transparency. You need to have transparency with your manager. You need to have transparency with your reporting relationship authorities, with your colleagues, with your peer level people, with your teammates. At times what happens is, bosses, they don't share details with their teammates. They feel they're the boss. But what I understand is it is very, very important due to share information, to to be transparent, to give confidence, to people. So when we share information, when we keep certain level of transparency with the team, there is trust which gets developed. You need to be responsive enough. So if there is any issue, if there is any problem, if there is any concern, if there is anything where you need to reciprocate in some way, you need to be responsive. You need to quickly address to issues. You need to immediately communicate. You need to immediately ensure that you are responding to a particular situation. That develops a lot of trust. you need to care. You need to use care to, develop trust. So within the relationship, how will trust develop? Because, I mean, once you start showing that you care, for the partner or the team, or the people whom with you work or stay with, that brings in a lot of trust. So caring will lead to a lot of trust development within, your relationships. So caring is something that is also very, very important. Obviously, I mean, when we are in our when we were in our school days or college days, into some flirty relationships, we care about everything that the other opposite partner, does. But eventually, over a period of time, that care, that love, that goes away, that decreases. There is a diminishing utility, and that brings a lot of issues. Then, because there are no trust, there are a lot of deficiency of trust, and then there is a lot of issue within the relationship. So when you stop caring, about your partner, when you stop caring about your manager, when you stop caring about your team member, then obviously it will not, lead to a lot of trust around. So I remember a few months ago, some colleague of mine was speaking to me about a career move, and I was concerned whether the person is taking a right move or otherwise. So I showed a lot of care that, if you make a career move like this, I don't think your career will go in the right way. You need to look at a better opportunity. I mean, you're going for an opportunity on lines with what you're doing itself. But if you look at, A, B, C, D, and these points into consideration, if you take these points into consideration, and then if you analyze, then there are chances that you will grow better and bigger in life. So wait for a while, look for a right opportunity, and then grow. This is my care. So caring. Now, when you show this caring thing, then the opposite person will have trust in you that yes, I think good for you, the opposite person. I care a damn good about, the opposite person, and the opposite person will develop trust in me. You need to be sincere enough in your relationship. Loyalty, sincerity is something that needs to be there. Uh, uh, Sincerity means you need to be loyal. You need to be absolute sincere to a relationship. If you don't give a due importance, to your relationship, whether personal or professional, then obviously there will be glitches, there will be differences, there will be conflicts, and then you may not be able to, balance things the way you actually wanted to. So you need to give due importance and give a lot of sincerity to your relationship, whether we are speaking on personal level relationships or we are talking about professional relationships altogether. And the last is you need to be trustworthy. You want to trust the opposite person, but you are doing a lot of things which will not develop trust in the opposite person's mind. So what happens is you need to ensure that all your actions and behaviors are in a way that reciprocates a lot of trustworthiness or a feeling to the opposite person, so that the relationship goes on. So trust ke upar, if I have to speak, then you need to be transparent, you need to be responsive, you need to be very caring, you need to be sincere, and you need to be a trustworthy character to ensure that there is a lot of trust within the relationship. Now, what happens is, I mean, when you trust, now there is a very thin line. This is out of experiences that I'm talking about. There's a very thin line in trusting someone and making a fool out of yourself. You should be able to know that who to trust, how much to trust, and in what situations to trust. At times, what happens is you blindly trust some people, but they take undue advantage of your trust, and they play behind your back. They be nice to you on your face, but they play behind your back. So what you need to do is you need to have a clear cut understanding about situations, about instances, about your experiences with respect to an individual, and then you should have a clear benchmark on that particular individual's trust level as to how much can you trust, in what situations can you trust, in what situations you cannot trust, etc. So there is a very thin line. If you blindly trust, then there are all chances that people will keep taking you for granted. Now that does not mean that you stop trusting, right? With a fear of getting ditched, you cannot stop trusting. I mean, what I understand is that you need to trust, you need to ensure that you trust, but within your experiences from an individual, where you have shown a lot of trust, you also need to analyze, you also need to understand, and you need to introspect whether the person deserves that amount of trust or not. You're trusting a person, and person is just cutting you off, person is playing you off politically, diplomatically, they are they're cutting edges, behind the back. So that's where you need to understand that, okay, the person is, I don't think I need to value the relation to that level, and I need to trust that relation to this particular level. So don't be a fool when we are talking about trusting. You cannot just it is as simple as that. When India is into a relationship with Pakistan, the trust level is different. Whereas when India is into a relationship with US or UK or any other country within the United Nations, the trust levels are different. Our trust levels with China were different, a few weeks, a few months ago. And within a few weeks, a few months ago, the trust levels are completely different. So what I'm trying to say is that trust is something which is a key. So whenever you're into a relationship, you need to ensure that you are having adequate trust on the person who is engaged with you in that particular personal or professional relationship. At the same time, you show all signs, actions, and responses in a way that you are also a trustworthy character for the opposite party. I mean, that's the first point of trust, which I wanted to elaborate in detail so that we all are on the same page.